It really is an instant intimacy when you meet someone to tell their story. This may sound crazy, but I really do fall in love with everyone I take pictures of. 9:30 in Henderson, and if I don't get any major breaking news after that, I'll stop by. They always say, you're not what your job is, but that's kind of my main thing in my life is my job. I'm a photographer at the newspaper in Las Vegas, and I've been a photojournalist for 35 years, 24 of which here at the RJ. It's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever done. It's all I've ever wanted to do since I was a child. It looks crazy, and it is. I love it because I love the adrenaline. I love just to go. And if I don't have adrenaline in my life, I'll just fall asleep. I love the variety. I love how it's different every day. And every day is a miracle. Nearly every day, I have an assignment where I say, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it is. It really is. It's hard to believe the things I get to see. This week has been just a blur. Like today, we went and saw that incredible graduation for these inspirational kids who have a lot of challenges, and they overcame them, and their parents are so proud and happy, a lot of tears. It was a beautiful day. Okay, so we're going to Water Street in Henderson. I just happened to end up here for the job. I was offered a job. I wasn't necessarily deciding to live in Las Vegas. I remember once when my daughter was very young, and she grew up here in Las Vegas, and she said, even though we live in Sin City, it doesn't mean we're bad people. I worked for the newspaper in Carson City, Nevada, which is the capital of Nevada, and I did a lot of freelance for the newspaper here in Las Vegas, especially during the legislative session. But year-round, for about 4.5 years, I did freelance for the newspaper here, and they offered me a job, and I wasn't sure I wanted to take it. I was pretty happy in northern Nevada. I lived to Lake Tahoe, and I did a lot of the Tahoe things, and we have all those things here too in Las Vegas. We have mountains, and you can skiing or mountain biking and do all those things you do in Tahoe here. And my wife wanted to move back here. She grew up near here in a small town outside of Las Vegas, and she wanted to be back near her parents. So I accepted the job, and I'm still here. And I'm glad I did. I'm sure that I would have been laid off at my previous job. I don't even think they have a print edition anymore. I think it's online only, and they only have a couple employees. And after I left the newspaper, they didn't fill my position. And then we had 3 photographers, and then they had 2, and then they had 1, and now they have none, actually. So it's good that I came here, and I'm still doing what I love. For me, if you're not a half hour early, you're late. I'm glad I'm still doing it. I can't believe I'm still doing it. A lot of people have left print journalism, and newspapers across the country have gotten smaller and folded, and we're still going strong here in Las Vegas. But I can't imagine doing anything else. Every day I meet people, and I see their jobs, and I see what they do for a living. And as much as I love everyone I meet, I really do. I can't imagine doing their job. I can't imagine doing any job but my job here. And so I'm blessed that way to do what I love. And I love going to work. I miss it when I'm on vacation. And I don't know, I'll have to stop eventually, of course. It's a pretty physically demanding job. It's more than just pushing a button. You got to make sure you get the photo captions just right, and to tell their story right, and patiently talk and engage and get to know the people. Most people do take photos, and that sounds like a fun job. I get that every day, and it is. But it's a lot of work, and it is very challenging, and I know that I have to produce every single day. I can't let up at all ever, and if I do, there's 100 people who would take my place, So I got to do my job in order to keep my job, and I always go the extra mile, and I give everything I have to every assignment every single day. Not just because I love it, but because I want to keep my job. The word newspaper comes from new, which they don't want old news. We want the news right when we get it, and you got to get it out right away. there is a lot of stress because almost the instant you take a photo, they want it. I guess that part's not great. We got to get the photos in pretty fast and the videos. This is kind of embarrassing. We didn't have the internet when I first started. And I would do my assignments all day long, and then I would go back to the newspaper and I would develop all the film, and I would turn in all 10 assignments at once. But now, you do an assignment, you turn it in. You do an assignment, you turn it in. You have to get it in right away, unless it's a long-term project or something like that. We have a lot of people on staff here who like to do long-term projects and take beautiful artistic pictures, which are wonderful, and the readers love it. I'm more of a daily news kind of guy, and hard news. It's kind of my forte. This is my office during the day. At the beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't even go into a Starbucks or McDonald's to send your photos in. And we weren't allowed to go to the office for 2 years, so you had to work out of your car. Sometimes I would work at parks or wherever I could find a spot. My office is anywhere my laptop is. I have a pretty fast hotspot, and I have to turn the photos in right away. So most of the time I do it from my car, or if it's a little too hot or too cold or windy or dusty or whatever, I'll find a coffee shop or a restaurant where I can do it and send the photos in right away.
Azzurra is an upscale Italian bistro in the heart of downtown Henderson on Water Street.
Water Street's changed a lot in the last few years, huh?
It absolutely has, and we're kind of at the tip of the iceberg.
Tell me about the residential units here, too. We have to adapt in the newspaper business, and we have a TV-style newscast on our website. I shoot every day for that, and I love it. It's a new way to tell people's stories, and I really, really love it. I was trained as a still photographer, and that's all I did until about 6 years ago. Prior to that, we did have videographers here at the paper, but I mostly still did stills. But it became a situation where everybody does everything, and even the reporters do video as well. And so I embraced it. I learned how to do it, and I learned to love it. And it's a new and very different way to tell a story. I think that's everything, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're done.
Whew. Appreciate it.
A lot of work. With moving pictures, you don't want something stagnant. Like in a still photo, the photo has to tell the whole story. But with video, you could have dozens, hundreds of different images in the same video. The whole video tells the whole story rather than one image telling the whole story. And if I get a positive, happy story, I just embrace it, because much of what I do is most people will consider bad news. But they want the news. They want to know what's going on, We try and look at it as, how does this affect people? Every story we tell is, whether it's the weather or anything, is how does this affect people? And that's what we're all about. We are a mirror to society. We're just a regular mirror. We're not a funhouse mirror. We don't make you look worse than you are. And we're not the skinny mirror that used to be in department stores to make you buy the clothes so you look skinnier. We're just a regular mirror to society.
Proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near.
I grew up going to church, Our Redeemer Lutheran Church in South San Francisco, California, ELCA. And during college and shortly after, I drifted away from the church a little bit, like a lot of people do. And then my daughter came along 27 years ago now. And my mother came to visit and brought her to church, and she loved it, and I loved it. And I just kept going ever since then. My mother's passed away, but she and my daughter got me back to church. And it's been wonderful. Such wonderful people, and it's always a joy to be at a church and among church people worshiping together. And it's a joyful, positive, happy, good people. And I like being among those people.
How are you?
It's so good to see you. My grandparents came from Norway, and they went to Minnesota. Sometimes we'll meet people in our congregation who are visiting from Minnesota, and we always tell them, oh, it's so nice to have people here from the Holy Land. We call Minnesota the Holy Land in Lutherans because all the Lutherans from Germany and Norway and all those countries, they went to Minnesota first, and as my grandparents did, and then they made their way to the West Coast. And they were Lutheran, and I grew up Lutheran as well. People ask me, how is it different than Episcopalian or Catholic? To me, it's not that different. I know to some people maybe it is, But as long as you believe in the Holy Trinity, you believe in the Lord's Prayer and the communion of saints and the forgiveness of sins, I think it's pretty similar to Catholic or Episcopalian. Personally, I don't see a lot of difference. We're all Christians. To me, it's all about Jesus, and it's all about love and faith and grace, and we all follow Jesus. One Bible story that I love, when Jesus first turned water into wine at that wedding, and he said to his mother, like, I'm a guest here, it's not my time. And his mom was like, get it done. And my mom has done that at a wedding where the photographer didn't show up, and I'm not a wedding photographer. I never could do that. Those people are so highly skilled. I'm a journalist, but my mother was like, get in there and get it done. Jesus was all about love and faith and grace. And I do truly fall in love with everyone I take a picture of. And some of them might be bad people who killed someone or whatever, but I do love all people. God loves us, and he sent Jesus to prove it to us that he loves us and he forgives us, and he gives us grace. I mean, Jesus tasked us with sharing the good news, and we can do that in a lot of ways. And one way is to show love. Remember that old song, they'll know we are Christians by our love? And that's a song from my childhood, and that's what I try to do.
You see him, he smiled at me.
I hope people remember me as someone who loves people and made intimate connections with people and told their story the right way my whole life. I'm not really the kind of photographer who takes pretty pictures or pictures of the moon or beautiful mountains or whatever. I'm a journalist, and I'm here to tell people stories. My main goal as a journalist is to tell the story.